Hello there. It is now time for me to walk you through the Kickstarter budgeting workbook. Because this is going to be a lot of data, you're not going to see my face, but I promise that even if you're intimidated by spreadsheets, this is a pretty easy one. I am very proud of this spreadsheet, as you can tell. This is something that I actually made the first time I launched a Kickstarter back in 2014. The spreadsheet we created the night before we were going to launch, and making this spreadsheet made us realize that we had under budgeted our project. We needed to kind of go back to the drawing board because there were costs we hadn't accounted for. So I have tweaked this recipe over the years. The spreadsheet is a little bit different than it once was, and I've tried to make it as easy to use as possible, but the basic premise is the same, and that is that your budget doesn't just depend on the basic costs of your creative project, but also depends on how many people back your project. I think possibly you have heard about projects running away and ending up not only making a lot more than people expected, but also costing a lot more than people expected. The more people back your project, if you have physical rewards, the more expensive it's going to be to fulfill. Shipping is expensive. Ordering items is expensive, so you need to be able to have a dynamic way to keep those things in track, and just one list of costs isn't the way to do that. You need to have something dynamic like this spreadsheet to keep track of all that stuff. So that's what this is for. I hope that it's a good planning tool for you, and yeah, I'm very excited to share it with you. So this is what it looks like when you pop the spreadsheet up. Let's talk about it. This spreadsheet will walk you through the complicated process of predicting a budget and goal for your one-time crowdfunding project. This says everything I just said. The process is complicated because of shipping and rewards. If you're doing a digital-only project, it will be a little simpler, but this spreadsheet still will help you because there are things like fees and taxes that this takes into account. During this process, you'll be creating a high and low estimate budget. So this spreadsheet allows you to do two different estimates at once, which will be helpful, but that information is basically just for you. I don't have a prescriptive way necessarily for you to use those two different numbers. Maybe you're thinking about, well, there's one way I could do this project where I record my album at home, or I do all of the work in New Jersey, and there's another way to do the project where I record or do it all in Manhattan or something like that. You have you know what your individual project, and you know the two kinds of expenses that you have. I mean, there's probably a lot more than two. So I encourage you to take whatever the high estimate and low estimate means to you and use those in your own way, so you can do the math on your own. So right now, as we are about to jump into this workbook, you should already have all of your costs together from the worksheet from the last video, as well as all of your reward and shipping costs from the last unit. If you don't have those already, you'll want to have those, go back and get those done before you come to this workbook, because if they aren't done, you really won't be able to dive into this. You need to have everything done and do it all in order. Otherwise, this workbook really isn't going to help you. It doesn't really provide you an answer until you have all of the information filled out. Okay. So basically, as soon as you open this workbook, the first thing you want to do is go up to File and Make a Copy. It's going to ask you for a name. And this will make a new copy of the workbook where you can write in and edit the whole thing yourself. So you'll see here, you have a chance to put your name and your project, and that's awesome. So I've already gone ahead and done that for myself. Let me zoom in here. Yay. And this is going to be where you fill out all of the great information. Yay. Let me show you the empty yearbook first. So the first tab asks you for your flat project costs. So this is everything involved in creating your creative project. There are two tabs here for flat costs. One is flat reward costs and one is flat project costs. There are going to be overlaps here, for example, like printing CDs, maybe you consider that to be part of your creative project, or maybe you consider that just something that you're doing for rewards. As long as you put all of your costs related to your project only in one of these tabs, it really doesn't matter. So go ahead and enter all of your costs for your project in these tabs. You'll see that I did that already here from the worksheet that I created. So here we go, hiring a producer. I've decided that if I do a lot of rehearsing ahead of time and spend less money and less time in the studio, I could do it for $2,000. If I want to do it really fancy, hire somebody more expensive, or spend more time in the studio, I could do $10,000. Mixing and mastering, again, I have a range of costs here. Cover art for the album is already going to be the same. Hiring instrumentalists as well. Paying the band, this is something important. Remember to pay yourself. These are two different possible estimates of what that could cost. And then submitting the album online. This higher estimate includes some Facebook ads. All right, so that's my flat project costs. And you're always only going to fill out everything in this yellow section, except for the optional stuff you don't have to fill out. And then the spreadsheet will go ahead and total for you. You'll see as I change the numbers down here, it changes the numbers up here. So wonderful. So the low estimate total right now is $8,000 and the high estimate is $22,000. And then in the flat reward costs, I have like a CD minimum order. I can't order just one CD at a time. So I've decided my minimum order would be for $600, and that'll be for like, I think I said that was 100 CDs. No, that would be 200 CDs. I should have written this down. 200 CDs, and then versus 500 CDs at $1,100. Enamel pins, again, this is like a minimum order of 200, a minimum order of 500. The cost goes up by hundreds instead of just by one pin at a time. That's why I've put it in a flat cost. Enamel pin design, cheaper artists, more expensive artists, t-shirt design, and then if I order a t-shirt, I have to pay a flat amount to get the press set up, the screen set up. So that's what that is. And those are my estimates. All right. The next tab is a little bit exciting. Hooray. Let me show you it blank and explain it before I get to my samples. Okay. So in this tab, you're going to be writing the names of your reward levels, or the contents of your reward levels. So you might start with like a digital version of the project, ideally, is the first reward level. And then your backer pays whatever that is. Maybe it's $12. And the cost to produce that thing, if it's a digital, it would be $0, right? And then you get to like physical version of the thing. The backer might pay $25. And the cost to produce that, it might be $0 because it's included in flat costs, right? But then if you are making like a custom item, the backer might pay a full $100 for that, and each one of those custom items, maybe they cost $15 to make. So that's what this reward is. This is how much they cost to make each per thing outside of what you've already accounted for in the previous tab. So I've already done that here. I have, let's see, 7 reward levels here. Digital album, CD pin and t-shirt, CD pin and back catalog, CD pin, t-shirt and sketch. I have a personal video song and a house concert. These are confusing, so I'm going to erase that. And then this is how much the backer pays for each thing. This is how much they are to produce. So all of these are pretty much the same, except for as soon as I add a t-shirt, they cost $7 each. And then I've noted that house concerts are only going to be available in my city. The next tab, oh boy, shipping costs. So I made you do this last unit where you found the cost to ship all of your different rewards. So this, you'll see, is automatically going to put in the names of all of your reward levels that you put in this previous tab. How exciting. So all you have to fill out is this yellow section, and I would go ahead and ask you to fill out this whole thing. You need to put a cost for US, you need to put a cost for Canada, you need to put a cost for the UK, and a cost for other. Now, if you don't know or you're not worried about costs for these other countries, that's totally fine. Just go ahead and enter the same cost. Oh, there wouldn't be a cost for digital, sorry. Go ahead and enter the same cost for everything, because if you don't enter anything in these sections, it is going to mess up the spreadsheet, and that's just a limitation of my tech capabilities. So there you go. So you'll see in my shipping here, I've gone ahead and according to the weights of all my items, I have entered the shipping costs for every reward level and every country. And that will help me a great deal as we go into the next section. The next tab is a couple of questions. So the first one is tax rate, and I have told you before, I can't really help you with this because it's going to be really specific to you. And this is going to be really, really super dependent on how much you can write off and all of that stuff. I've gone ahead and put in a low estimate of 10% and a high estimate of 30%. You can do whatever you want here or ask for some expertise or just leave those estimates in. 30 is going to be pretty high because it's going to add a full 30% on top of your budget, just so you know. And then here is going to be how many backers do you think will be international? As in, what percentage of your packages do you think you're going to have to ship internationally? That is a tricky question, but if you know based on like your iTunes stats or your YouTube views or your mailing list analytics, you can get an idea of how much international shipping you're going to have to do. And that'll help the spreadsheet do some math on how much you're going to need to budget for international shipping. Okay? The next tab of this spreadsheet is my favorite, and that is estimated back your quantity. But this one is also really tricky because you are going to have to make some guesses here. This is basically like a trial and error fully estimation project. You need to basically enter how many people you think are going to back at each level and see how much that ends up costing you. And the importance of doing this here is that that's going to be able to help you figure out like how much creation cost you're going to end up paying and how much shipping cost you're going to end up paying. You obviously don't know this yet, but there are a few things that can help you. And one of them is that there are statistics. They vary from kind of genre of project to genre to project, and they're obviously estimation. Like you can't predict people 100% of the time. But one thing is that an average donation for a project is typically between $25 and $60. For music projects, it's usually around $40. So you know that if you put your estimated numbers here, you can try to get this average backer donation thing to be $40. The other thing that I really encourage you to do, which I'm going to do right now, is to look at another project of a band or a group or a writer or an artist whose audience is about the same size as yours, or audience is scalable, like if it's twice the size of yours or half the size of yours, and look at their Kickstarter project and kind of copy their audience over into your spreadsheet. This is how I always do it. And honestly, the audience breakdown is pretty consistent a lot of the time. Like a lot more people are going to back at the first level or your digital level than are going to back at the $1,000 level. And the spikes are honestly pretty consistent. It's not 100% of the time, but it will kind of help you make estimates. And you can obviously play with those numbers and see what they do to you here. I find this to be really fun, to be perfectly honest. If you're really stressed out about this, hopefully these kind of training wheels will help you make an estimation. Like I said, you can find a project that's like about the same size as yours and just copy those numbers over. If you find a project that's like twice the size of yours, then you just copy their numbers in half. And if their reward levels don't one-to-one to your project, you'll just kind of fudge it and estimate over. All right. And you're going to do that until you have basically a positive net income on your project. And that's when you're going to be able to know, like, okay, I have figured out what the actual goal of my project needs to be, because I have figured out that when I have this many backers and I'm making this amount of money, then my project breaks even. Okay. And then now I know what goal I need to ask for my project to break even. I think that makes sense. So let me show you what I have done. First of all, let me show you what my empty estimated backer quantity sheet looks like. It has auto-populated all of my rewards. It's auto-populated my pledge amounts. And it's auto-populated my creation costs and my shipping costs, all of that fun stuff. You can see that my net income is negative, very, very negative, because it has taken all of my flat reward costs and figured out how much those are going to cost. Now, that's a scary thing, but that is not something we need to worry about quite yet because we don't have any income yet. Now, let me tell you the next thing I did. I went into another spreadsheet I have, which calculates followers on various platforms. So I put in myself right here. I'm Laser, and I wrote down all of the backers I have on different social media platforms. So I have 5,000 on Twitter, 2,000 on Facebook, 14 on Instagram. I have not that many on YouTube, and some YouTube views on a recent video. And then I have another sheet here that calculates, and this is a lot of information that I'm going to show you in a future video, but has a bunch of different bands and how many followers they all have. And the one that was closest to me was a band called the Misbehaving Maidens, which has a pretty similar follower count to me. So I thought, oh, okay, this is actually going to be really easy. I can just look at their project and copy over their numbers to do a good estimation. If you don't, have a weird obsession with tracking people's follower numbers, which is totally normal as this is my job, then you can do this a few different ways. Just like go look at the Kickstarters of various projects and see, look at a few of them, see if any of them have like a number that seems about right, and figure out from there, like go check out their social media platforms and see like, okay, they have about the same number of followers as I do on Twitter or whatever. The reason I did this was that sometimes, like, for example, I have a lot more Twitter followers than this band does, but they have a lot more people in other places. So it evens out. It might look like in one place or another that one of us is more popular than the other or has a bigger audience, but you never really know until you kind of add all of these up. So I will give you a version of the spreadsheet as well so that you can get an accurate idea. But this is all for estimation and fun. So let's look at that band's Kickstarter. This is their third album, Swearing is Caring. This band, by the way, is a great band to look at because they raise a lot of money. And one of the reasons they do that is that they are very, very good at marketing. They split up the work, and one of them is just in charge of marketing their Kickstarters during the process. So it's really, really great. Okay, so what I am going to look at exclusively, however, is their backing levels. So I'm going to start with a digital album level. See, it's a $10 level, mine is 15. And I am going to see that they got 123 backers at that level. So I'm going to write 123 and my estimated number of backers. And then when I go to the $20 level, which is about the same as their, or my 25, which is about the same level as their 20, I'm going to write 55 backers. I think you see what I'm doing here. They have a $30 level, so I'm going to put that in my 35. They have a $35 level. I don't have a $35 level, so I actually might combine these two together. So they had 45 plus 48 backers, which is like 103. Okay. And then they had they did have a $50 level. I just backed it, so it's at the top, so I'm going to enter 79 there. After that, they had a $75 level, which is about the same as my 80. you see what I'm doing. So you can see now I have this all completely filled out here. And now I have entered a whole bunch of backer information into the sheet based just on this other band's Kickstarter. And after I did that, I can look up here and see, oh my gosh, I have a positive net income on my low budget. Not on my like dream budget, my dream high budget, but I do have it on my low budget. And when I made the low budget, it was something that I'm happy with. So if I make the amount of money that I think is reasonable for my my project, then I will have a positive income. So let's look at what that's going to look like on the final tab. This final tab adds up everything. First of all, it gives you a gross reward revenue. So this is the result of all of this stuff added together that you just estimated. All of these rewards, which is the cost of the reward, plus the shipping. Remember, the shipping is included in your final pledge amount. So the reward amount, which is the pledge amount, plus the shipping, which is going to be right here, times the number of backers is this total income here. And then the cost total will, so that's what this is right here. Hooray! Then it has all of everything else added up here. Your flat project costs, your flat reward costs, your variable reward and shipping costs, your international shipping estimate. So this took the percentage of what you thought would be international backers and multiplied it by kind of like the average difference between your domestic and international shipping costs. And then that's your cost subtotal right here. And there's a high estimate there. Then it adds the fees. So this is going to be a Kickstarter. So the fees on Kickstarter are between 8 and 10%. So I went ahead and threw 10% on there for safety. And then a safety buffer. So for this, I put a 1% safety buffer. The high estimate has a 10% safety buffer, which is probably safer, obviously. An estimated tax rate is right here. And then the total for all of these is 21%. So this adds a 21% buffer on top of this. So that means not like 21% of 13,000, but 21% of the total, which is a complicated math thing. But obviously this 10% that gets taken off is going to get taken off of the total, not off of this low number. So that is adding a total of 3,000. Now that's a lot higher over here because you're adding 10% for fees, 10% for a safety buffer, and 30% for taxes. That means there's a full 50%. Like this, this cost right here is getting doubled. So that means your total fees are very, very high over here. That's why it's so high. And then your estimated net profits and loss, $3,547. So I think if I asked for $20,000 for this project, I would break even because my project is got almost at $3,500 over. I could play with these numbers now if I was like, I want to have a 2% safety buffer, or I want to have a 3% safety buffer, or a 5% safety buffer. I mean, that's some good stuff to play with. A 10% safety buffer, I would still have some money left over, which is really nice. I could go back to my backer quantity and be like, okay, so what if like something really weird happens and instead of people ordering the digital album, everybody orders a t-shirt, which means that my my cost goes really, really up because there's these $7 per t-shirt thing. And it's like, all right, it's still going to be okay. Or what if like nobody orders a digital album and people are all ordering, I don't know, and nobody orders a house concert, which means that the cost goes way down because these high levels, I mean, there's always a chance those aren't going to get picked. And then 200 people order a t-shirt and, you know, like there's a lot of things to play with here. So you can play it with some worst case scenarios and some best case scenarios and all of that stuff. But for example, you can see right there, what I did is I changed some stuff around. My average backer donation is higher. I'm making 23,000, which is higher than I made before. However, my net income is lower, and that's because of the split of the way that the rewards broke down. Anyway, this is very nerdy stuff, but I think it's very fun to play with once you have figured it out. And I definitely recommend that you do that. That is how this spreadsheet works. In the next video, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about this Kickstarter comparison spreadsheet. So if this confused the heck out of you, don't worry, it's about to come. And I hope you enjoy playing with this thing and that it brings some clarity to you and some accuracy in budgeting.